Welcome everyone to the second settlement of our new campaign that we started on veteran difficulty, but we do have some surprises in mind for this one, so stay with us and let's check it out. First things first, what we didn't do last time and even before the last Golden Hoof scenario settlement, we didn't check the smoldering city for upgrades, and this is where we would like to start from. Because there are some really critical ones in the beginning. So let's click on buy upgrades and see what we have in store. So as you can see, we're still level 2, so we can only get access to the 3 upgrades before level 3. And let's check what they are. So Obsidian Archive level 1 will give us permanent minus 2% to the speed at which the Queen's impatience grows, and it is really important, as was visible from the last settlement. We barely made it. And in addition to that, we get the fundamental upgrade of Obsidian Archive, a place where records about great Viceroys are kept. It unlocks deeds. So that's like more experience points and some other cosmetics, etc. So we will be unlocking this one for sure. We have enough food supplies to do all the free ones that are accessible for us. So the next one is also about gaining a 2% bonus to the speed at which the Queen's impatience grows, so minus 2% just to be exact. But the really critical part that we were also missing in the previous settlement is the consumption control upgrade. So by enabling this one, we get advanced controls for what is being consumed in your settlement and by who. And the last one we can pick for now is the Monastery of the Vigilant Flame level 1. So first of all, it contains everlasting flames, which means that we get a 2% permanent reduction to fuel consumption in hearts. And also we get access to 2 new embarkation bonuses, stone and clay, that we can choose from. Let's unlock that one as well. And that concludes all the upgrades we can do. We should be able to get to level 3 after the end of the next settlement, regardless of how it goes, so we'll be back here in a bit. But now regarding the next settlement. So as you can see, Golden Hoof is standing proud right here, and the next settlement we need to place somewhere closer to the next seal, which is going to be the first one in the campaign as well, the bronze seal. And the furthest we can go from here is this spot specifically. Now, since the community is still being built, etc., I asked Elinza for a recommendation for the settlement's name for the next one that we are going to be building, and she said that Lumberville might be a good one to continue with. And it is a very appropriate one for the game, and hopefully it gives us a lot of lumber so we never run into problems with our wood stockpiles. And another change that we will be doing is that instead of playing on veteran difficulty, we will pick Viceroy this time, because we want a little bit more challenge. And also, I must admit, I have been doing some practice games in the background and maybe improved on some things. But let's take a look at what's waiting for us. So first of all, the caravan selection. We get to pick between 2 caravans. First is either 5 humans and 3 lizards, or 8 humans and 2... Well, we don't know what the 2 additional citizens are going to be, but we get access to 10 citizens right off the bat, so I think we'll go with that one. Even though the other citizens of our town might be random, but 8 humans is a really good start along with whoever else will be joining the settlement. Now, the map itself is going to be Scarlet Orchard, and since it's the first one, let's also take a look at what it says about the map. So it's a beautiful yet dangerous land that is colored a strange shade of crimson. It's called the Herb Garden of the Kingdom due to its abundance of herbs, berries and roots. So a lot of herbs and berries and roots, as you can see. The soil amount is average. The length is going to be 14 reputation or 14 impatience, whichever is going to be hit first. And you can also see the rewards down there. Regarding the conditions themselves, we have royal archaeologists with us, which allows us to build an archaeologist office, and I believe there are some prehistoric remains on the map that we might find, and those give a lot of good stuff, including like a bunch of impatience when we clear all the 3 levels of a ruin or a remain. In terms of the trees, they give us the usual wood, but in addition to that, we get copper ore, some dyes, and some plant fiber. And when we take a look at the natural resources on the map, then something to keep in mind is that we are mainly going to be getting stone, so no access to clay, meaning that if we need to focus on pottery, that's probably not going to be the thing that we need. Then regarding the embarkation bonuses, I know we got access to both stone and clay from our upgrades just now. But given that we have 3 embarkation points, perhaps we'll just go for the food, which is eggs and roots. And the last one, because we don't have 2 extra points, is going to be wood. So yeah, as said, Lumberville on Viceroy difficulty, let's go. Let's take a quick look at the forest mysteries as well. So the good one that we have access to is that the salty air makes it easier to preserve food. Food production speed is increased by 80% during drizzle season. That sounds impressive. Then looming darkness is the usual forest mystery that will give us a little bit of negative global resolve. But the higher level ones are more interesting to us, just to know which ones we need to be aware of and to avoid. So faint flame. Strong gusts of wind strike the holy flame. Resources you sacrifice in the ancient hearth burn 40% quicker. Really critical one to avoid as long as we can. Then hailstorm in case there is no housing, which we will have to keep an eye on to have everybody housed, but if they are not, villagers with this effect have a 5% chance of perishing every 15 seconds, which is a sure way of gaining that impatience real fast. Then at hostility level 3, we get cold front, which means that if the needs for complex food and clothing are not met, villagers with this effect have a 20% of destroying the yield with each production cycle. Not too bad, we can manage with that. And at level 7 hostility, the forest will claim a villager's life during each storm, multiplied by the number of years that have passed. This one we will ideally just not face at all, so just let's keep an eye on our hostility levels. Okay, let's get started. The initial setup is, as always, we need to build some roads, just to have a little bit faster logistics. Let's make it pretty. It is a city builder after all. And I know our settlement is not gonna be in our lives for a long time. But it doesn't mean we can do any shortcuts when building it. So we want to have the roads fully around the hearth, because people will be chilling around there when taking their breaks from work. Now we also have access to stone, fish. But first we need a few woodcutters. So let's actually pick which direction we are going to be cutting to, because this time we are going to try to open up a dangerous glade in year 1. Well, there's not really like a good indication of which one is the best, but I'm just checking like where we can be a little bit more creative in terms of how many trees we need to cut down. It seems like the top left corner of our settlement is actually a good one, because, well, not really, because we can only place one woodcutter there. So let's rather focus on the bottom left corner instead and place both of the woodcutters there. Also, our woodcutters are going to be mainly beavers, but we don't have enough of them, so initially humans will be replacing the future beavers that will join our settlement. Also, initially we will not be felling all trees. We want to make sure we check out what the first cornerstone of the settlement is going to be. Now, in terms of what else we might be doing here is that probably we want to set up the fishing hut. That's a good extra resource or extra source for food. And of course, let's also set up the stonecutters camp. We will be playing around with workers as we go because we don't have enough for all the workstations. And of course, our beloved crude workstation people will need to start working again. This time, hopefully more optimally than the last time. Now we can close all these tutorial notifications. And of course, one more thing we need to keep in mind is we need to have everybody have shelters. So we will build 4 of them with a little bit of future-proofness included. Now, let's check our consumption control as well, because we do have some pickled goods that might be extra useful with the storm and also some boots. So both of those we will just not allow to be consumed at the moment. And I will toggle off everything else actually, just to have more control over where things go. Regarding the hearth itself, I'm thinking we switch the Firekeeper to humans because they will help the impatience grow slower. Then again, it might not be initially the best idea, but since we want a little bit of impatience to counter the hostility that we'll be grabbing from the first glade, but we'll try to manage it with like that. And if it comes to what kind of fuel needs to be consumed, let's just leave the logs for the time being in case we get something more valuable and we might need it somewhere else. Seems like we're ready to go, so season 1, here we go. Please build everything. All the camps and stuff. While they're actually being built, so let's take a look at the crude workstation and set up the initial requirements. So we would like to get planks, we would like to get fabrics and bricks. We can ignore the pipes for the time being. And when it comes to the bricks, we just want you to use stone for this, as whatever clay we might get randomly will be used for other purposes, potentially. The limits are going to be 30 for all of this. And if you take a look at what can the fabrics be made of, then I would not outrule anything out of here. And of course wood will be used for planks. So at the moment we have three free workers. I'm thinking the lizard will be doing the wood workstation stuff. And regarding the other workers, well, let's assign. Okay, let's take a quick pause here because we have the cornerstone selection at our hands. And we get the choice between steel pickaxes, which would give us +2 to stone production, or wood cutting production increase of 35% in the form of reinforced axes. I think this is a pretty clear choice. We will go for it with the reinforced axes, as it will give us more bonus to how many workers we have working on the trees. We will not open up the dangerous glade right away, because whatever might come out of it we might have to resolve after the first storm. So initially we will still keep avoiding felling trees to open up glades. And while we're waiting here, let's see if we can set up anything else. So the fishing hut will not have initially access to packs of crops, which will not be most effective, but let's just grab the fish right away and look for other fishing ponds if anything. We just need to make the most of the resources that we have access to. Now, we still have 2 free workers. And Lizard's resolve is already low, because probably they don't have, well, they're a little bit complaining because they cannot use the pickled goods or the boots. But I'm hoping that one of the shelters will go up, which would solve their issue with unhappiness. I will be favoring them for the time being, just not to rush ourselves with the shelters, etc. Now, seems like the initial setup has been completed. We do have to provide enough wood for our crude workstation to be able to keep making planks throughout the first storm season. So far so good. I don't think we forgot anything regarding the setup part. Our human is keeping the queen's impatience growing at a rate of 0.18 per minute, which is way better than, if I remember correctly, last game it was at 0.26 or something similar. Okay, so since the fishing hut has been completed, I will assign one of the 3 humans to work in there. It's a good day for fishing, ain't it? And we will keep observing that everything keeps going according to our plan. Now we do have orders flashing here, and we can take a look at them actually, at least the first one, because we don't have timed orders yet. So lizards resolve to 13, probably not a tricky one, which would give us 2 lizards joining the settlement along with 30 packs of meat and 3 parts. And when it comes to the exploration order, then we should cut through 4 glades in order to get the perk of having workers assigned to glade events carrying 5 more items and 10 crates of bricks and 10 boxes of planks. I don't think we want to rush glade so fast, but this lizard resolve can give us more people living in our settlement faster, so let's pick this one. Now the next choice is between clearing glades and camps. For the camps we would need to have 1 harvester camp, 1 stonecutter's camp along with delivering 10 bricks, giving us 15 clay, 15 reed and some parts. Or if we complete 2 glade events along with delivering 3 packs of materials, we get 4 new villagers, 3 parts and 30 packs of skewers. I do tend to think that the clearing the glades seems to be a bit more beneficial for us. Again, mainly looking at the number of villagers we can gain from here. And the last, for the time being, order choice that we get is between booming economy and big delivery. So booming economy would request us to sell goods worth at least 20 ambers to traders or via trade routes, giving us 10 amber, 20 oil vessels and 2 villagers. Or delivering 7 packs of building materials, giving us +1 plank production, 20 crates of bricks and 4 boxes of tools. Now I must admit this is a bit of a tougher choice, but since I noticed that the plank production is always something that gets a bit of a showstopper when it comes to the later game, then I think we'll go for the second option, so big delivery it will be. Let's keep going and see what our settlers will come up with. So the stonecutter's camp was finished. Now we should start working on the shelters. It is still drizzle season, so there's enough time to build at least some shelters before the storm. When we take a look at our resolve, it's quite low. Everybody will get 3 extra resolve from just having the shelters up. And also we might enable the consumption control to... well, the beavers want access to pickled goods and the lizards want both the pickled goods and boots, but we might just give them access to the pickled goods to eat during the storm, to make their lives a little bit easier. So the lonely lizard working in the crude workstation has been working hard, and the outcome is 2 planks so far. And if we take a look at our warehouse, then there's no fabric or bricks yet, but that's okay. We cannot make them anyway because we don't have any stone or anything to make the fabric out of. Now we have 7 homeless people here, which means 3 of them got homes. That's a bonus already. The second shelter is going up. And I think around the time when the first storm is either about to start or already like in the middle of the first storm, we will be opening up the first dangerous glade. I'm still trying to figure out which is the better choice, because in terms of timing, I would say that if you know ahead of the storm what the resources are going to be in order to resolve the glade event, then This might help us prepare during the storm, but then again, during the storm it's really tricky to do some things because you might have to unassign woodcutters to manage the hostility, etc. But let's wait at least until closer to the storm season. So in around 2 minutes or so, we will give the order to open up the glade. I will also move these woodcutters a little bit closer to the trees down there, otherwise they will run into the no trees scenario. While we're waiting here, we can also take a look at the blueprints available to us. So brickyard, lumber mill and carpenter are on the table initially. And to me it seems like perhaps the brickyard is the most fascinating one, but then again, pottery. Keep in mind we don't have access to clay. Crystallized 2 is also there on the list. It is a relatively similar set of buildings we have access to. So we probably will be choosing between the scrolls and tools. And I would say tools are probably the better choice because getting a building where the scrolls will be useful is also going to be tricky in this game where we do not have too many rerolls for the blueprints yet. But also the first dangerous glade might give us a clue in which direction we will be heading. Now all of our shelters are almost done. One thing we did forget about is we will get 1 extra resolve if we put a park somewhere in our village. So Lumberville will celebrate its first national park day during the clearance season. Hopefully. It might also be going up during the storm season. We will find out in a few moments. Okay, so storm is approaching and I will give the woodcutters the command to open up the glade finally. So we will move them a bit closer to the dangerous glade. And now it's time to keep your fingers crossed that we get the good event that doesn't mess up our game right away. One thing that could help us, so the storm started and we paused, but I will unpause and let's also build the trading post. As the trader might also give us some valuable goodies to solve the first event. So we can see that resolve is getting kinda lowish. And we did get to open up the glade already. So let's take a look at what's inside right after we put the woodcutters on a cautious setup again. So first of all, it seems to be that there is a haunted cellar that would give us really lovely production of wine, pickled goods and packs of provisions. And I don't know much about the wine part, but at least the pickled goods are loved by at least 2 of our citizens, plus the packs of provisions are good for trading. But then again, we don't have trading abilities yet because we haven't unlocked the upgrade. So probably, yeah, pickled goods and maybe the winers are going to be the juicy ones from here. But let's take a look at what event is waiting for us. So we have the Altar of Decay, meaning that if we tear it down, we will get some resources. But if we look at the ritual performing aspect, first of all, we don't have the resources to perform the ritual. We do have the resources to tear it down at least, so we have that plan B already in place. But if we would perform the ritual, then every time a villager dies or leaves, we would lower the hostility by 20 points. And if we fail, then the first thing that will attack us is the Knight's Embrace, meaning that the settlement is slowly engulfed in darkness. Each Blight Rod cyst increases hostility by plus 15 points during the storm. Not too bad because we don't have any cysts, but we will get 1 more impatience point on the board. And one thing I didn't point out yet is we got some lovely fertile soil here along with some Small herb nodes that we do have access to, and there is also a small cache here. Does this cache give us the ability to maybe get some resources to resolve this event with ritual performing? Don't think so. So we will leave it for the time being. We will let the storm continue, and probably we will check what the trader has in store for us. Although we don't have any money that we could give them for anything yet. So as usual, the first event and solving it is not so simple. Now, one thing that we can consider is that if we did build the lumber mill, can we build or make enough scrolls to solve the event? So scrolls require wood, which we have plenty of, and they also require dye that we will get by cutting down wood. So I think we got our first choice for the blueprints. We will make a lumber mill, and we will come back to the choice of blueprints later on. So lumber mill, here we go. We will put you closer to the large warehouse. We do not have yet any bricks, and I think also, well, we have enough fabric in storage, as you can see. The bricks part we need to solve somehow, so we will be playing around our workers a bit. So this human will stop fishing for a moment. We will need these two humans to start gathering the stone. Then most likely, well, the lizard will be there alone for a little bit. But can we reassign some woodcutters? I think it's too soon for that, because probably we're a little bit lagged behind the stonecutters camp now. And I see the beavers are a little bit unhappy. Let's take the favoring away from here, and they will be okay with the situation again. But the lizards will not be happy, so let's give them some pickled goods to eat, and therefore get some extra resolve points. I am considering also enabling boots, because I don't want anyone to leave the settlement at this moment. Even though if we lose somebody, it's going to be lowering our hostility going forward. And I know we also have an option to lower the hostility by removing woodcutters, but they're right now working on getting some extra dye that will be needed for scrolls. So let them keep on working on that. Yeah, when it comes to the lumber mill, scrolls are going to be vital. I will add 100 limit for them at the moment. And please only make them out of the normal logs or wood and dye. So wouldn't like to use wine for these scrolls either. Okay, seems like everybody is quite a bit happier. Might even remove the ability to use all these extra things anyway, because the storm ended. Let's pause once more and check out what cornerstones we get access to. It seems like between the survivor bonding of getting 1 extra global resolve and 10% villager speed versus traders arriving 50% slower but gaining 33% global production speed, I think I will go for the resolve, just because I don't want to mess around with the traders. We will need the traders anyway at tougher times. Okay, and we have some new villagers applying to join our settlement. So Lumberville is going to get its, well, 11th, 12th, etc. citizens. Of course, we will pick the 3 of them, as there's just more of them. How are we doing with food? We still have quite a bunch of food remaining, but it will be changing fast. Okay, so the new villagers, what are you going to be doing? I think one of them will be going to, well, it's a lizard as well, so we have a lizard crewed workstation crew working on stuff here. At the same time, the trading post seems to be going up, and hopefully We are going to be working on the bricks that we need for the lumber mill. We still have around 5 minutes, or well, if we assign 2 workers here, it's probably gonna be more like 6 minutes remaining before we need to get started. Before we need to get the work started on the event. And we don't need 2 builders, so let's have the beaver do some fishing on the side. So how is it going with the bricks actually? The bricks are being created by the newly joined lizard. Cannot see the names of these citizens at the moment. We do have a Baldwin Amberjack, who's a woodcutter appropriately. Even though it sounds more like they should be cutting some amber, but that's not possible in the game as far as I've seen it. And you guys probably want to move closer to the sides because we're running out of wood to cut. Yeah, initially we want to stick around the main warehouse to clean up the space a little bit. Now, in 1 minute and 31 seconds, the trader will arrive. But I'm eager to see when the lumber mill will go up. We'll also need some workers here. Probably will be taking the stone cutters because they made their main mission in the form of stone. Of course, if we were to consider for them to grab some extra stone, we could grab this medium abundant cache for some goodies. But I think let's not overstretch ourselves for the time being. And once this one is ready, I want you guys to stop working on the stonecutters camp and work on the lumber mill instead. Seems like beavers are actually really good at dealing with lumber, so I think we'll take this beaver away from the fishing spot instead. We will also remove the beaver that's working on cutting logs at the moment, because the most critical mission we have at the moment is just getting the event done without any consequences or additional impatience points. So as you can see, they already started grabbing some wood. Hopefully they'll also get some dyes. We will need how many of these scrolls? We need 30 scrolls. And each set of scrolls is going to be taking quite a lot of time. So we will be battling against time as usual. But maybe the trader will also sell us some scrolls so we can make it on time before the first trigger of the event. Again, we just will be grabbing 1 impatience point if anything. But this performing of the ritual reward might be useful in case we lose some villagers in the long run. Okay, the trader has arrived. Let's see what we can grab from them. So initially I see that they have no scrolls available for us. We don't know if we need the big fishing hut or the trapper's camp yet, and well, it would be lovely to decrease the fuel consumption, but as you can see, our resources are rather limited at the moment. Maybe we could sell some wood in exchange for something else, but I would say more like this time we will not be grabbing anything. Yeah, unfortunate, but that's how it is. Thank you, trader, for showing us what you got. Now the first scrolls are on the way. Lovely. I do see we have 1 homeless in the town. We cannot allow for that, so let's build another shelter. And another question probably is, why do we have 2 free builders? Well, one of them should probably be reassigned to still fishing, I think, because food is kind of a sneaky one. It seems like you have some, and then you have no food at all, and everybody's starving and complaining and running away.